You scroll through your feed and see it every day, a highlight reel of wealth and luxury. But beneath the polished surface, the reality of the math usually looks a lot more like a trap. We are constantly bombarded by 20-something influencers preaching about how they hustled their way to early retirement and financial freedom. If you look at the baseline for success online, it usually starts with exotic hardware like this. Then comes the mandatory location check, broadcasted from elite, hyper-expensive travel destinations. Watching this constant stream of wealth creates a very specific kind of psychological pressure. It triggers immediate FOMO, making you feel hopelessly behind and pushing you to catch up. But the financial profiles you are comparing yourself to rarely add up. Social media algorithms have turned wealth into a performative clout game, and playing that game actively drains your real bank account. There is a statistical reality at play here, known as the net worth paradox. Simply put, the people flashing the most cash are very often the closest to bankruptcy. Compare that demographic to actual self-made millionaires. They tend to look completely average in public, prioritizing their financial independence over the applause of strangers. This graph maps out how these two lifestyles diverge over time. The red line represents the volatile, debt-fueled dopamine hits of status spending, while the blue line shows the quiet, exponential growth of asset compounding. The math driving this split is absolute. Every dollar you spend on visible status is a dollar permanently removed from a compounding asset. Over time, that deficit forces the lifestyle actor into negative territory. Exiting the fake rich epidemic requires dropping the aesthetic of wealth entirely. We are going to execute a calculated sovereignty reset by weighing 5 specific strategy trade-offs. To evaluate objectively, we will use this decision matrix to break down the input, expected outcome, and trade-off for each strategy. Trade-off 1 focuses on the leasing trap. Inputting microloans for luxury goods yields an expected outcome of immediate social validation. The trade-off is harsh. You assume all depreciation and high-interest debt, building zero equity. You star in photos, but the bank owns your lifestyle. Trade-off 2 introduces the incognito rule. The input is a complete halt on broadcasting purchases or income online. The expected outcome is a massive, immediate reduction in the psychological pressure you feel to spend money just to keep up with your peers. The catch is that you must accept the loss of algorithmic dopamine spikes. By going silent, you will feel irrelevant in status-driven circles. Guarding your financial life like a state secret is the most effective way to eliminate the artificial overhead of impressing strangers. Strategy 3 determines where your freed-up capital goes. The input involves redirecting desired luxury purchase funds straight into a cash-flowing asset or an index fund. The outcome here is pure math, the silent compounding growth of your actual net worth over decades. The psychological trade-off is extreme delayed gratification. Your liquidity is locked in assets, so you look objectively poorer in public than indebted peers. Trade-off 4 leverages Thomas Stanley's millionaire research. The input is deliberately choosing reliable, older vehicles and modest housing. By refusing to finance depreciation, you unlock massive amounts of liquid cash flow every single month that can be aggressively invested. The trade-off requires forfeiting the modern hustle culture aesthetic. You have to endure potential judgment from peers who prioritize flash over stability. True financial security is built on cash flow and equity. Depreciating lifestyle props cannot generate either. The 5th strategy shifts the metric entirely. You input internal validation, measuring your personal worth strictly by the problems you solve and the peace you maintain, rather than brand names. The ultimate outcome of this shift is unshakable financial sovereignty and total immunity to targeted consumer marketing. The trade-off is severe. You are actively detaching from the internet's primary social currency, which often leads to temporary isolation. But that isolation acts as a filter. It eventually connects you with communities of people focused on similarly pragmatic wealth building. Achieving real wealth requires deliberately choosing to lose a rigged game in order to win your actual freedom. To identify your exact next step, this quadrant chart maps these trade-offs directly to your current financial reality. If you are an aspirational hustler, borrowing to build a persona is a death spiral. Your mandatory first step is executing the incognito rule immediately. If you are a status-conscious professional, your high income is being cannibalized by leased luxury. You must trade your depreciating ego props for owned equity. And if you are a pragmatic wealth builder, validate your current path. The social friction you feel driving older cars is simply the necessary price of admission for long-term freedom. Looking rich has a specific, calculable cost, and paying that cost directly destroys your ability to actually be rich. It is expensive to look rich, but it is practically priceless to be free. Choose the trade-off that funds your future, not your follower count.